Imagine you are standing at a crossroads in life. The path you once walked with ease now seems filled with obstacles, and the weight of the world feels unbearable. Every step forward feels like a struggle, and the future seems uncertain. Have you ever felt that way? Like the bad days just keep piling up, and no matter what you do, you can't shake the feeling that something is off? We all face challenging times, those moments when life doesn't go as planned, when everything seems to fall apart. It could be a sudden loss, a personal failure, or just the overwhelming stress of daily life. But here's a question. How do you survive these moments? How do you pull yourself out of a dark phase and emerge stronger on the other side? Imagine if there was a way to understand these tough times, not as something to fear, but as something to grow from. What if the path to healing didn't lie in escaping pain, but in accepting it and finding peace within it? That's what we'll explore today. Buddhism offers profound insights into how we can navigate the toughest phases of life, and they are not just abstract teachings. They are practical tools that can make a real difference in how we experience life's challenges. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we dive deep into life-changing wisdom to help you find peace, purpose, and strength. If you're looking for answers, you're in the right place. I encourage you to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, as there are so many views but only 0.2% of people subscribe. So please, show your support and drop your thoughts in the comments section below. We truly value your insights. Now, let's journey together through the Buddhist teachings on surviving tough phases of life. Stay tuned and remember, even in the hardest times, there's always a way to grow and find inner peace. Acceptance, the first step to healing. Life has a way of throwing challenges at us when we least expect it. Sometimes, these challenges feel so overwhelming that we can't help but wonder how we'll ever make it through. But what if the key to surviving these difficult times wasn't about fighting the storm? What if the first step to healing was something simple, yet powerful: acceptance? Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning ourselves to pain. It means acknowledging what is, without resistance. It's about recognizing that life, with all its ups and downs, is full of both joy and suffering. And rather than avoiding or denying the tough times, we embrace them with an open heart and a clear mind. This is one of the core teachings in Buddhism: accepting what is, without judgment, without resistance, and without clinging to the idea that things should be different. When we resist the inevitable, we only create more suffering for ourselves. It's like trying to hold back a wave in the ocean. The more we fight, the more exhausted we become, and the wave just keeps coming. But when we allow the wave to wash over us, we realize it's not as terrifying as we imagined. Acceptance is not about passivity, it's about surrendering to the present moment, just as it is. Take a moment to think about your own life. How often do you resist what's happening? Perhaps you're going through a difficult time right now, or you've faced challenges in the past that seemed impossible to bear. How did you respond? Did you try to push away the pain? Or did you face it with openness? If you're like most people, you probably tried to fight it, and understandably so. After all, no one wants to suffer. But the more we resist, the longer we prolong our pain. Buddha taught that suffering is a part of life, and the more we resist it, the more we feed it. However, if we accept it as a natural part of our human experience, we free ourselves from its hold. Acceptance allows us to move forward, to heal, and to find peace even in the midst of hardship. It's not about giving up. It's about letting go of our need to control everything. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine you've lost something important to you. Maybe a job, a relationship, or even your health. The natural reaction is to feel grief, anger, or fear. These emotions are part of the human experience, and it's okay to feel them. However, many of us make the mistake of holding on to these emotions for far longer than necessary. We hold on to anger, resentment, or regret, thinking that by doing so, we can somehow change the situation. But the reality is, the past is gone. Holding on to it only keeps us stuck. In Buddhism, there's a practice called mindfulness that helps us bring our attention to the present moment. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. By doing so, we can see that our negative emotions, as strong as they may be, are not permanent. They arise, they peak, and they pass. This awareness can help us move through difficult emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Instead of resisting, we simply notice them and allow them to be, knowing they will pass in time. It's important to understand that acceptance doesn't mean you have to like the situation you're in. It doesn't mean that you should just move on or pretend everything is okay. Acceptance is about acknowledging the reality of your situation without trying to change it or push it away. It's about giving yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling, without guilt or shame. There's a famous story in Buddhism about a monk who was asked to explain the concept of acceptance. He responded with a simple gesture. He held out his hand and said, "This is the hand of acceptance." In his hand, there was nothing but openness. No judgment, no expectation, just space to allow whatever came. This hand symbolizes the attitude of acceptance, being open to whatever life brings, without trying to hold on to it or push it away. The practice of acceptance is not easy. It takes time and patience, especially when we are facing intense emotions or difficult circumstances. But the more we practice, the more natural it becomes. We begin to see that suffering is not something to avoid or fight, but something to understand and embrace. When we accept our pain, we no longer let it control us. Instead, we find the strength to move through it and grow from it. In Buddhist teachings, there's a concept called the middle path. The middle path is about finding balance in life, avoiding both extremes of indulgence and self-denial. When it comes to difficult times, the middle path involves accepting what is, without clinging to it or pushing it away. It's about finding peace in the present moment, no matter what that moment brings. Think about it. When we stop fighting against our pain and instead allow ourselves to feel it fully, we can begin to understand it. Pain, when acknowledged and accepted, often reveals valuable lessons about ourselves. It shows us what we need to heal, what we value, and what we may need to let go of. Without acceptance, we remain in a state of resistance, unable to learn from our experiences. One of the greatest gifts of acceptance is that it frees us from the need to control everything around us. We can't control the weather, other people's actions, or even the events that happen in our lives. But we can control how we respond. Acceptance teaches us that, while we can't change the external world, we can change how we relate to it. By accepting the present moment as it is, we open ourselves up to the possibility of change. It's only when we stop fighting that we make space for healing. Healing doesn't always happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a straight line. But with acceptance, we begin the journey of moving through pain with grace and finding peace amidst the chaos. In times of difficulty, remember that acceptance is the first step toward healing. It's not about passively accepting a life of suffering, but rather accepting the challenges that come with life and using them as an opportunity to grow. By embracing acceptance, we take our first step toward freedom from the suffering that once seemed so overwhelming. As we continue this journey together, keep this in mind. Acceptance doesn't make the pain go away, but it allows us to live with it more peacefully. It doesn't mean we stop caring or trying to improve our circumstances, but it means we let go of the constant struggle. And in that release, we find the space to heal, to grow, and to find strength in the face of adversity. The power of mindfulness in difficult times. Imagine waking up in the middle of a storm. The winds are howling, the rain is pouring down, and the noise of the world is deafening. It feels like everything is out of control. Now, imagine if, in the midst of all this chaos, you could find a place of calm within yourself. A place where the storm no longer has power over you. This is the power of mindfulness, and it can transform your experience in even the most difficult times. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings with awareness, rather than being swept away by them. In moments of struggle, mindfulness can be a lifeline. It allows you to step back from the emotional turbulence and see things clearly, without getting caught up in the pain or frustration of the moment. When you're mindful, you stop reacting automatically to situations, and instead, you choose how to respond with clarity and wisdom. The beauty of mindfulness is that it doesn't require you to escape from your problems or run away from the discomfort. Instead, it encourages you to embrace what's happening right now. It teaches you to accept the present moment exactly as it is, without resistance. This doesn't mean you have to like what's happening or agree with it, but it means you stop fighting against it. And in that acceptance, you begin to find peace. You might be wondering, how can mindfulness really help in a tough time? Let me share an example. Imagine you're facing a difficult situation at work, where you feel overwhelmed, stressed, and maybe even helpless. Without mindfulness, you might react by getting angry, frustrated, or anxious. You might even spiral into negative thinking, convinced that things will never improve. But with mindfulness, you can pause for a moment. You can take a deep breath and ground yourself in the present moment. Instead of letting your emotions control you, you let them come and go without attaching to them. It's like standing on the edge of a river, watching the current rush by. You don't need to jump in and let the current carry you away. Instead, you stand at the riverbank and simply observe. You notice the flow of the water, the way the waves ripple and move, but you remain rooted and steady, unaffected by the force of the current. This is what mindfulness can help you do with your emotions and thoughts during difficult times. You learn to observe them without being swept away. It's important to understand that mindfulness is not a one-time fix. It's a practice, a way of living. The more you practice being present in your daily life, the more you strengthen your ability to stay calm and centered when challenges arise. Mindfulness teaches you that your thoughts and emotions are not who you are. They are simply temporary experiences that come and go. You are the observer of them, not the prisoner of them. Many people think that mindfulness is about clearing the mind of all thoughts, but that's not the case. It's about becoming aware of your thoughts and emotions without getting entangled in them. For example, when you feel anxious or sad, instead of immediately reacting to these feelings, you simply notice them. Ah, there's anxiety, you might say to yourself. Ah, there's sadness. This simple act of noticing creates distance between you and your emotions, allowing you to experience them without being overwhelmed by them. When you practice mindfulness, you also develop a sense of compassion, both for yourself and for others. You begin to see that everyone goes through difficult times. You understand that suffering is a part of the human experience, and you become kinder to yourself when you're struggling. Instead of being hard on yourself or feeling like you're failing, mindfulness allows you to treat yourself with patience and understanding. In times of crisis, when everything seems uncertain, mindfulness helps you focus on what you can control: your breath, your thoughts, your actions. It brings you back to the present moment, where you have the power to respond with wisdom and grace. You realize that no matter what's happening around you, you always have the ability to choose how you respond. And this realization is incredibly empowering. Mindfulness also helps you break the cycle of negative thinking. When things are tough, it's easy to get stuck in a loop of self-doubt, fear, and worry. Your mind spins with all the what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. But mindfulness teaches you to step out of that cycle. It teaches you to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Over time, you begin to recognize that most of your worries are just stories your mind tells you. They're not necessarily true, and they don't have to control you. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is its ability to anchor you in the present. In a world where we're constantly looking to the future or ruminating about the past, mindfulness brings you back to the here and now. It helps you find peace in the present moment, no matter what's happening around you. It teaches you that this moment, right now, is all you ever truly have. And in that moment, you can choose to be at peace, even if everything else is in chaos. As you begin to embrace mindfulness, you may start to notice small shifts in how you react to life's challenges. Instead of getting caught in frustration or panic, you find yourself taking a deep breath and responding with more clarity and calmness. You may find that you can approach difficult situations with more patience and understanding, not just toward others, but toward yourself as well. Mindfulness also teaches you the value of slowing down. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to feel like we need to rush through life, ticking off tasks and checking off to-do lists. But mindfulness invites you to slow down and savor the present moment. It encourages you to take time to appreciate the small things, the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of birds chirping, the taste of your food. These simple moments can bring you a sense of peace and contentment, even in the midst of challenges. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily life doesn't require a lot of time or effort. You can start with small moments of awareness throughout your day. You can practice mindfulness while you're walking, eating, or even washing dishes. As you become more mindful in these small moments, you'll naturally begin to carry that sense of presence into larger, more difficult moments. Remember, mindfulness is not about avoiding your problems or pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's about facing your challenges with an open heart and mind. It's about acknowledging your pain, your fear, and your anger, but not letting them define you. It's about finding peace amidst the chaos and understanding that you have the strength to endure, no matter what life throws at you. So, the next time you find yourself caught in a difficult moment, remember the power of mindfulness. Take a deep breath, center yourself in the present moment, and observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. You may find that the storm doesn't seem as fierce as it once did. And even if it does, you'll know that you can stand strong, grounded in the calm within you. In the end, mindfulness is not just a tool for surviving tough times. It's a way of living with more peace, compassion, and awareness. It helps you navigate life's challenges with greater ease and grace, and it empowers you to find strength in the most unexpected places. Through mindfulness, you learn that no matter what happens in life, you always have the ability to choose how you respond. And that choice, that moment of awareness, is where true peace begins. Letting go of resistance and control. Life can often feel like a constant battle. We try to control every aspect of our lives, our relationships, our work, our health, and even our thoughts. We think that if we can manage everything perfectly, we will be happy and secure. But what happens when things don't go the way we planned? When we can't control the outcome, when the unexpected happens, or when the world seems to be spinning out of our grasp? In those moments, resistance arises. We fight against the flow of life, desperately trying to hold on to what we know, what feels safe, what we believe we deserve. But the more we try to control things, the more stressed, anxious, and frustrated we become. The tighter we grip, the more we lose. Buddhism teaches us that resistance is one of the greatest sources of suffering. The more we resist life, the more we suffer. Imagine trying to swim against a strong current. The harder you swim, the more exhausted you become, and the less likely you are to reach your destination. This is how we are when we resist the natural flow of life. But what if, instead of resisting, we learn to let go? What if, instead of fighting life, we embraced it? Buddhism doesn't suggest that we should passively accept everything that comes our way. Rather, it invites us to let go of the need to control everything, to accept things as they are, and to find peace within that acceptance. This is not about giving up or resigning ourselves to a life of helplessness. It's about recognizing that there are things beyond our control, and that's okay. When we stop resisting, we stop creating unnecessary stress and frustration. We stop wasting energy on things that don't serve us. Instead, we free ourselves to respond with clarity, understanding, and compassion. Letting go of resistance does not mean we stop caring or stop trying. It means that we stop trying to force outcomes and instead, we focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. We begin to trust in the natural flow of life, understanding that not everything is meant to be controlled. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is to surrender to what is. Imagine a tree in the wind. The tree doesn't fight the wind. It bends and sways with it, moving in harmony with the forces around it. The tree doesn't waste energy fighting the wind, it flows with it. This is what we can learn from nature. Life is like the wind, constantly changing, unpredictable, and at times, overwhelming. But when we stop resisting and allow ourselves to bend and flow with it, we find a sense of peace and calm amidst the chaos. Letting go also means letting go of our attachment to outcomes. How often do we find ourselves fixated on a particular result? We set goals, make plans, and imagine how things should unfold. But life is rarely as predictable as we want it to be. When things don't go as expected, we often feel disappointed, angry, or defeated. But Buddhism teaches us that attachment to outcomes is a major cause of suffering. When we attach ourselves too tightly to a specific result, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Instead, we are encouraged to focus on the present moment and the process itself. When we let go of our attachment to how things should be, we can enjoy the journey without being burdened by the weight of expectations. We stop living in the future or the past and start fully embracing the now. Letting go also means releasing our attachment to our self-image. How often do we define ourselves by what we have or haven't accomplished? We base our worth on external achievements, on how others see us, or on the standards we set for ourselves. But when we let go of this attachment to our identity, we can experience a deeper sense of freedom. We are not our achievements or failures. We are not our roles, our titles, or our possessions. We are simply beings in the process of becoming. When we let go, we create space for something new. It's like clearing out old furniture to make room for fresh air. We make space for growth, for healing, and for new opportunities. Life, after all, is constantly changing. When we hold on too tightly to the past or to what we think should be, we limit our ability to grow. But when we let go of resistance, we open ourselves up to the possibilities that life has to offer. The more we practice letting go, the more we begin to trust in the natural unfolding of life. We no longer see obstacles as threats, but as opportunities to learn and grow. We stop fighting against the current of life and instead, we begin to flow with it. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. It means we learn to navigate life with wisdom, patience, and equanimity. It's important to remember that letting go is not a one-time event. It's a practice, something we return to again and again. There will always be moments when we feel the urge to control, to resist, to fight. But when we recognize that resistance is the source of our suffering, we can gently remind ourselves to let go. And with time, we will begin to experience the peace and freedom that comes from surrender. So, the next time you find yourself struggling, ask yourself, am I resisting? What would happen if I let go? When you let go of resistance, you open yourself to the possibility of transformation. You free yourself from the chains of expectation and control, and you allow life to unfold in its own beautiful way. Remember, letting go is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to release what we cannot control and trust in the flow of life. When we stop resisting, we create space for peace, for growth, and for a deeper connection to the world around us. Karma and the law of cause and effect. Let me tell you something very simple, yet profound. Every action we take, no matter how small, sends ripples out into the world. Imagine a pebble thrown into a still pond. At first, the ripples seem small, insignificant even, but slowly they spread across the surface, touching every corner of the water. In the same way, our thoughts, words, and actions create ripples in our lives, and these ripples influence not only our present moment but the future as well. This, my friend, is the essence of karma. Karma is often misunderstood. It's not some cosmic punishment system, nor is it about rewards or consequences in the way we might think. Instead, karma is the natural law of cause and effect. It's simple. Every cause has an effect. Every action we take leads to a result, whether we see it immediately or not. The beauty of this is that we have control over the causes, the actions. We are the architects of our own fate. In moments of hardship, When you feel lost or overwhelmed by the weight of life's challenges, it's important to remember that the suffering you might be experiencing could be the result of actions from your past. Perhaps there are past decisions or unresolved emotions that are now coming to fruition. But this is not a punishment. It's just a natural consequence of the choices we make. The important part is understanding that we are not bound by this. Just as we created the cause for our current situation, we can change the course by changing the causes we set today. Think about a time in your life when you felt hurt or betrayed. Perhaps someone's actions left you feeling broken. But here's the thing. When we experience such pain, it's easy to focus solely on the other person, blaming them for how we feel. But in the larger picture, karma is telling us something different. It's reminding us that everything that happens is interconnected, and our reactions to those situations matter just as much. How we choose to respond to life's challenges, whether with anger, forgiveness, or understanding, shapes our future. Forgiveness, for example, is a powerful force in karma. When you forgive, you are not doing it for the other person, you are doing it for yourself. When we hold on to resentment, it's like carrying a heavy burden. The weight of anger or hurt from the past prevents us from moving forward. But by forgiving, we lighten that load, allowing ourselves to experience peace. And guess what? This act of forgiveness, however difficult, creates positive ripples in our lives. It starts to heal the wounds of the past and lays down the foundation for better things to come. Karma teaches us that we are always in the process of creating. Whether we are aware of it or not, every thought we think, every word we speak, and every action we take is planting a seed for the future. And just as a farmer tends to their crops with care and attention, so too must we tend to the seeds we are planting in our minds and hearts. If you want to experience peace, happiness, and fulfillment, you must sow those seeds now, through loving thoughts, kind words, and compassionate actions. Sometimes, the weight of our past actions can seem too heavy to bear. You may feel as though you are paying for mistakes long gone. But here's the truth. The past is over. What matters now is what you do with this moment, the one you have right in front of you. Every moment is a chance to change the course of your life. Every action you take today is creating your tomorrow. If you want to experience something different, you must begin by thinking, speaking, and acting differently. Karma is not about destiny or fate. It's about free will. It's about understanding that we have the power to shape our future with every choice we make today. If you're in a difficult phase of life, it's important to reflect on the actions that brought you here. Are there patterns of behavior that have led to your suffering? Are there unresolved issues that need attention? Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking them. For instance, if you find yourself constantly struggling with relationships, it's worth looking at how you've contributed to the dynamics in your life. Are you truly being open and honest with others? Or do you shut yourself off in fear? Are you acting with compassion? Or are you acting out of selfishness or insecurity? The way we treat others often reflects the way we treat ourselves. Karma teaches us that the energy we put out into the world comes back to us, in ways big and small. But here's the most powerful part of karma. Change is always possible. No matter where you are in life, no matter what actions you've taken in the past, you can start anew. It's never too late to plant a new seed, to make a different choice. The law of karma is not a strict punishment system. It's a tool for personal growth and transformation. It's about understanding that you are not a victim of your past, but the creator of your future. When we embrace this understanding of karma, we take responsibility for our own lives. It means we stop blaming others for our circumstances and start taking ownership of our choices. It's easy to point fingers when things go wrong, but true growth comes from looking inward. What can I do to change my response? How can I approach this situation with a different mindset? How can I act with kindness, even in the face of difficulty? These are the questions that lead to healing and transformation. Let me share a simple story to illustrate this. There was once a man who lived in a small village. He was a farmer, and he worked hard every day in his fields. But despite his efforts, his crops never seemed to do well. He worked tirelessly, planting seeds, watering them, and waiting for the harvest. But every year, his crops would fail, and he would struggle to make ends meet. One day, a wise old monk came through the village. The farmer, desperate for answers, asked him, "Master, why do my crops always fail? What am I doing wrong?" The monk smiled and replied, "Have you ever taken a moment to reflect on the seeds you're planting? Not just in the ground, but in your heart and mind? Are you sowing seeds of kindness, patience, and gratitude? Or are you sowing seeds of fear, frustration, and anger?" The farmer thought for a moment and realized that his frustration and impatience were clouding his thoughts and actions. He had been planting the seeds of worry and doubt in his heart, and it was affecting every area of his life, even his work on the farm. The moment he changed his mindset and began to approach life with patience, gratitude, and a sense of peace, his crops began to thrive. It wasn't just his external actions that needed to change, it was his internal state that needed to be aligned with the energy he wanted to receive. This is the power of karma. It's not about what happens to us, it's about how we respond to what happens. The universe responds to our energy, our intentions, and our actions. So if you're going through a tough time right now, remember that you have the power to change things. You are not at the mercy of life's circumstances, you are the one who shapes them. In the end, the law of karma is a reminder that everything is connected. Our actions, no matter how small, have an impact. And with every new choice, we can begin to rewrite our story. Whether it's through forgiveness, compassion, or simply shifting our mindset, we can begin to create a future that is filled with peace, happiness, and joy. Remember, it's never too late to plant new seeds. Seeking inner strength through meditation. In the midst of life's chaos, when everything around you seems to be crumbling, it's easy to forget that the greatest strength you can find is not in external circumstances but within yourself. So often, we look for solutions outside, in the form of people, things, or achievements, believing that they will bring us peace and comfort. But true strength doesn't come from the outside. It comes from cultivating a deep sense of inner calm and resilience. This is where meditation comes into play. Meditation isn't just a practice, it's a way of life. It's a tool for reconnecting with yourself, a means of quieting the noise of the world and tuning into the stillness within. In the Buddhist tradition, meditation is seen as one of the most powerful practices for building inner strength, especially during times of hardship. It's not just about sitting still with your thoughts. It's about becoming deeply aware of your mind, your emotions, and your reactions to the world around you. When we meditate, we create a space where we can observe our thoughts without judgment. We begin to notice how our minds tend to wander, how easily we get caught up in negative thinking, and how quickly stress and anxiety can take over. But here's the beautiful thing about meditation. As we learn to watch our thoughts without getting swept away by them, we gain control over how we respond to life's challenges. We stop reacting impulsively to our emotions, and instead, we create a moment of pause, allowing ourselves to choose how we want to respond. In those moments of stillness, we begin to realize that we are not our thoughts. We are not the pain we experience, nor the anger or fear that rises within us. We are the observer, the one who can choose how to react. This is where true strength comes from, being able to face life's difficulties without being consumed by them. It's easy to believe that we need to fix everything, that we need to control every situation in order to feel safe. But in reality, control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how hard we try to hold on to things, they will inevitably slip away. The more we try to control, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering. Meditation teaches us to let go of that need for control. It shows us how to accept things as they are, without trying to change them. This doesn't mean we stop taking action, it means we stop fighting against what is. We stop resisting the flow of life, and instead, we learn to move with it. One of the key aspects of meditation is mindfulness, which simply means being fully present in the moment. When we practice mindfulness, we stop worrying about the past or the future. We stop letting our minds replay past mistakes or imagine worst-case scenarios. We learn to embrace the present moment, knowing that it is the only time that truly exists. When we live in the present, we can experience life with greater clarity, less stress, and more peace. It's important to note that meditation isn't about forcing your mind to be quiet. It's not about suppressing your thoughts or pretending that everything is okay. Meditation is about being honest with yourself, about acknowledging the chaos in your mind and allowing it to be there without judgment. Over time, as you continue to practice, you'll find that the mind becomes quieter and the sense of inner peace becomes more accessible. The benefits of meditation are profound, especially when you're going through a tough phase in life. In times of stress or grief, meditation can provide a refuge, a place to recharge and regain perspective. It helps you reconnect with your deeper self, beyond the layers of worry and fear. Through meditation, you realize that no matter what happens in the world around you, you always have a source of inner strength to draw from. This inner strength doesn't mean that you'll never feel pain or sadness again. It doesn't mean that life will become perfect or free of struggle. But it does mean that you'll have the tools to face whatever comes your way with greater ease and grace. You'll learn to face challenges without being overwhelmed by them, to hold space for your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. Many people find that when they start meditating, it's not easy at first. Their minds are noisy, and they might feel frustrated or discouraged. This is perfectly normal. The goal of meditation isn't to achieve a perfect, silent mind. It's to develop awareness and acceptance. Over time, the practice of meditation becomes like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger your inner peace becomes. And as your peace grows, so does your ability to handle life's challenges. The beauty of meditation is that it can be practiced anywhere, at any time. You don't need to sit in a special position or be in a quiet room. You can practice mindfulness while walking, cooking, or even just sitting in traffic. It's about bringing your attention fully to whatever you're doing in that moment. And through this practice, you begin to realize that life itself can be a form of meditation if you are fully present in it. As you continue to meditate, you might also begin to notice a shift in how you relate to other people. When we are centered within ourselves, we are less likely to be triggered by the actions of others. We become more compassionate, not because we try to be, but because we understand that everyone is struggling in some way. We begin to approach others with more patience, kindness, and empathy. This shift is powerful. It's a reminder that the strength we are cultivating through meditation is not just for ourselves, it's for others too. When we find peace within ourselves, we are better able to help others find peace as well. The strength that comes from meditation is not about being tough or unshakable. It's about being gentle, about being resilient in the face of adversity while still holding space for the vulnerability that exists in all of us. In the end, meditation is not just about surviving difficult times. It's about transforming them. It's about taking the pain, the struggle, and the uncertainty and turning them into opportunities for growth and wisdom. Through meditation, we learn to see life as it is, not as something to escape or control, but as something to experience with open-hearted awareness. And in that experience, we find the strength to carry on, no matter how heavy the weight may seem. So, as you continue your journey, remember that the power to face life's challenges lies not in avoiding them, but in embracing them with mindfulness, acceptance, and inner strength. Meditation is the key to unlocking that power, and with each practice, you are one step closer to becoming the strongest, most resilient version of yourself. The role of compassion in overcoming hardships. When life presents its hardest challenges, there is one force that has the power to transform even the darkest moments into opportunities for growth: compassion. Compassion is often misunderstood as a simple feeling of sympathy for others, but in Buddhism, it's far more than that. It's the recognition of suffering, the desire to alleviate it, and the willingness to act with kindness, not only toward others but also toward ourselves. It's about embracing the pain that comes our way and responding with understanding, patience, and love. Imagine, for a moment, being in the middle of a storm. The winds are howling, the rain is relentless, and the thunder seems to echo the chaos inside your mind. In those moments, it's easy to feel completely lost and overwhelmed. But what if, instead of fighting the storm, you decided to embrace it? What if, instead of pushing against the discomfort, you allowed it to be a part of your experience without judgment? That's the essence of compassion, the willingness to be with the pain without letting it define us, without letting it break us. When we face difficult times, we often find ourselves caught in a cycle of self-criticism. I should have done this differently. Why is this happening to me? I'm not strong enough to handle this. These thoughts can amplify our suffering, making the storm feel even fiercer. But compassion allows us to break that cycle. It teaches us that it's okay to feel weak, to feel vulnerable. In fact, it's part of being human. By offering ourselves the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend in need, we start to heal. Compassion creates a space where self-judgment fades, and we begin to see our challenges not as burdens, but as opportunities for growth. The Buddha spoke of the importance of loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna, as qualities that can transform the way we experience suffering. In his teachings, he emphasized that compassion is not a passive feeling, but an active practice, one that requires us to move beyond our own struggles and extend our hearts to those around us. Compassion is not just for others, it is for ourselves, too. It is easy to forget this when we are caught in our own pain, but the truth is that we cannot truly heal until we learn to love and care for ourselves as much as we do for others. The practice of compassion is deeply intertwined with mindfulness. When we are mindful, we are fully present in the moment, aware of our thoughts and feelings without judgment. This awareness allows us to see suffering for what it truly is, impermanent, arising and passing away. By cultivating mindfulness, we can recognize the pain within us without becoming consumed by it. And from that space of awareness, we can respond with compassion, offering ourselves the grace and care that we need to heal. But what does compassion look like in practice? It might be as simple as pausing for a moment to acknowledge your own suffering without pushing it away. It might mean speaking kindly to yourself when you feel low, or reaching out to a friend when you need support. It could even mean forgiving yourself for past mistakes, understanding that they do not define who you are. Compassion, in all its forms, allows us to heal, not by avoiding or denying our pain, but by embracing it with an open heart. The more we practice compassion, the more we begin to see that our struggles are not unique. They are part of the shared human experience. Everyone, at some point in their life, faces hardship. Whether it's loss, disappointment, fear, or loneliness, these are all things that unite us. When we recognize that our suffering is not isolated, we begin to develop a sense of interconnectedness with others. This understanding can soften the walls of isolation that often arise when we are going through tough times. One of the most powerful ways to practice compassion is through acts of service. When we take the focus off of ourselves and direct our energy toward helping others, we often find that our own suffering feels lighter. Helping someone else, whether it's through a kind word, a small gesture, or simply listening, has a profound effect on our own hearts. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, and that by lifting others up, we, too, are lifted. Compassion also teaches us about patience. When we are in the midst of a difficult time, it's easy to want everything to change immediately. We may feel desperate for a solution, for relief, for peace. But compassion reminds us that healing takes time. It is a slow process, one that cannot be rushed. By being patient with ourselves, we give ourselves the space to grow and to learn. Just as a flower blooms in its own time, so too does our healing. And the more we nurture ourselves with compassion, the more we allow ourselves to unfold at our own pace. Another important aspect of compassion is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not just about letting go of the hurt that others have caused us. It's about releasing ourselves from the burden of resentment. Holding on to anger and bitterness only deepens our suffering. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is an act of self-liberation. It frees us from the pain of the past and opens up the possibility of healing. This doesn't mean we condone what was done to us, but it means we choose to release the hold that anger and hurt have on our lives. As we cultivate compassion, we begin to notice something remarkable. Our perspective on life shifts. We start to see challenges as opportunities for growth, pain as a teacher, and suffering as a part of life that can lead to deeper wisdom. Compassion allows us to embrace all of it, not just the good, but the hard, the painful, and the uncomfortable. It teaches us that we are strong enough to face whatever comes our way, and that, no matter how difficult the journey, we do not have to walk it alone. It's important to remember that compassion is not always easy. There will be times when it feels hard to be kind to ourselves, when our pain seems too great to bear. But even in those moments, it's crucial to remember that compassion is a practice, and like any practice, it requires patience and persistence. Some days will be harder than others, but each step you take toward compassion is a step toward healing. And so, as you navigate through the difficult phases of life, remember the power of compassion. It is the balm that soothes the wounds of the heart, the light that guides us through the darkness. It is the force that allows us to rise above our suffering and to emerge stronger, more connected, and more at peace with ourselves and the world around us. In times of hardship, compassion is the reminder that we are not defined by our pain, but by our ability to love and care for ourselves and others, no matter the circumstances. In the end, compassion is what binds us together. It's the thread that connects us all, reminding us that we are never truly alone in our suffering. Through compassion, we find the courage to face our challenges with grace, and we discover the strength to overcome even the most difficult times. So, in moments of darkness, always remember, you have the power to bring light, not only to others, but to yourself. Compassion is the key that unlocks the door to healing. Impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. In life, we are constantly reminded of one thing. Everything changes. The sun rises and sets, seasons shift, and even the people around us change. Yet, in the midst of it all, we often forget that impermanence is the only constant we can rely on. It's the simple truth that nothing, no matter how great or small, stays the same forever. Imagine you are standing on a beach, watching the waves crash against the shore. The waves come and go, never the same twice, yet they always return. This constant ebb and flow mirrors life itself. We experience moments of joy, moments of sorrow, and moments of peace. All of these come and go, just like the waves. The challenge, however, is that we often hold on to these moments, hoping they will last forever. And when they don't, we feel lost or defeated. But what if you could embrace this impermanence instead of fearing it? What if you could see the changes in your life not as something to resist, but as something to flow with, like those waves? Buddhism teaches us that the more we understand and accept the impermanence of life, the more we can find peace within it. You see, when we cling to things, whether it's a relationship, a job, or even our own expectations, we create suffering for ourselves. Why? Because we are trying to hold on to something that is meant to change. Life is constantly moving forward, and if we resist that movement, we end up stuck, trapped in the past. We're constantly worried about the future. But impermanence invites us to let go of that grip. It asks us to be present in the moment, to appreciate what we have while we have it, and to understand that even the hard times will eventually pass. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when life throws us a curveball. Whether it's losing a loved one, facing illness, or dealing with failure, the pain can feel unbearable. But just as the storm clouds eventually part to reveal the sunshine, the difficult moments in life too shall pass. This is the power of impermanence. Let's think about it for a moment. How many times have you faced a challenge and thought, "This is the worst moment of my life"? Maybe you thought you would never recover, that the pain would never end. And yet, over time, the pain began to fade, the situation changed, and you grew stronger. This is the truth of impermanence in action. Things may seem dark now, but they won't stay that way forever. Change is coming, whether we like it or not. And in that change, there is the potential for growth and healing. The Buddha spoke of the impermanence of all things as a core part of understanding the nature of suffering. When we recognize that everything is fleeting, we can stop clinging to it. It's this clinging, this attachment, that causes us pain. We want things to last, but the truth is that nothing does. Not the good times, not the bad times, not even our own thoughts and feelings. Everything is in constant flux. This understanding can be liberating. When you stop fighting against the inevitable, you allow yourself to flow with life. You can start to see the beauty in change rather than fearing it. Think of the seasons. In winter, the trees seem bare, but they are not dead. They are waiting for spring. The flowers may wilt, but new ones will bloom. The same is true for you. You may feel down or stuck in a bad phase of your life, but that phase will pass. The storm will eventually end, and you will emerge from it, perhaps with a new sense of strength or wisdom. But how can we live with impermanence without feeling overwhelmed or sad? The answer is simple. We embrace the present moment. We stop wishing for things to stay the same and start appreciating what is. Take a moment to look around you right now. Everything you see, every person you meet, and every experience you have is temporary. In that knowledge, there is freedom. You can enjoy the moment without needing to hold on to it forever. You can love deeply without fearing loss, because you understand that love, like everything else, will change. And that's okay. Impermanence also teaches us to focus on what truly matters. In a world where we are constantly chasing success, possessions, or approval from others, we can easily forget that these things too will fade away. What is eternal is the love we share, the wisdom we gain, and the peace we cultivate within ourselves. These are the things that last, because they are not dependent on external circumstances. When we accept impermanence, we stop living in the past, where regrets and missed opportunities can haunt us, and we stop worrying about the future, which is uncertain. We start living in the present, appreciating each moment as it is. Whether it's a quiet cup of tea, a meaningful conversation, or even a difficult challenge, each experience is precious because it won't last forever. The practice of impermanence is also deeply tied to mindfulness. Mindfulness allows us to be fully present, to observe life as it comes without judgment. When we are mindful, we are not attached to any particular outcome. We don't cling to pleasure or push away pain. We simply experience life as it unfolds, knowing that each moment is unique, and once it passes, it is gone. This understanding of impermanence also brings a deep sense of compassion. When we realize that everyone is going through their own struggles, that everyone's life is in constant flux, we become more patient and understanding. We stop judging others for their mistakes or their pain because we know that they, too, are in a phase of change. We become more accepting, not just of ourselves but of others, knowing that no one is permanent and no one is perfect. So, next time you find yourself struggling with life's ups and downs, remember this: nothing lasts forever. The bad times will pass. The tough phase you are going through is just that, a phase. Hold on to the knowledge that everything changes, and in that change, you can find peace. Let go of the need to control every aspect of your life, and allow yourself to flow with the current. Because, just like the waves, life will carry you to new shores, if you allow it. In the end, impermanence teaches us the most profound lesson of all. Nothing is permanent, and that is what makes life so precious. It is the very fact that we cannot hold on to anything forever that gives life its richness. The beauty of life lies in its transience, in the fleeting moments that we have to cherish before they slip away. Embrace it, and you will find peace. How detachment can bring peace. In life, we often find ourselves holding on to people, situations, expectations, and outcomes. We grip tightly, thinking that if we just hold on a little longer, everything will turn out the way we want. But what if this very attachment is the source of our suffering? What if the key to finding peace is not in holding on, but in letting go? This might sound counterintuitive. After all, don't we need to care deeply about the things we love? Don't we need to protect what matters to us? Of course, we do. But there is a subtle difference between attachment and love, between caring and clinging. Attachment is the deep need to control the outcome, the fear of losing what we have, or the anxiety of not getting what we want. Love, on the other hand, is free. It allows the other person to be who they are without expectation, without the need to control. Buddhism teaches that detachment doesn't mean giving up love or relationships. It doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. Detachment is about freedom. It's about letting go of the expectations and desires that tie us down and embracing the reality of what is. It's about understanding that nothing in life is permanent, not our happiness, not our relationships, and certainly not our material possessions. And this impermanence is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Think about it. How many times have we held on to something or someone so tightly, only to find that we are exhausted, frustrated, or even heartbroken when things don't turn out the way we expected? When we cling to something too tightly, we lose sight of the bigger picture. We become so focused on our desire to control the situation that we forget to live in the moment. We miss out on the beauty of what is happening around us, because we are too busy worrying about what might or might not happen in the future. Detachment, however, frees us from the struggle. It gives us the space to live fully in the present, without being constantly weighed down by the past or anxious about the future. When we practice detachment, we are not abandoning our loved ones or responsibilities. Rather, we are letting go of the need to control or possess. We allow people to be who they are, without placing unrealistic expectations on them. We allow ourselves to flow with the currents of life, instead of fighting against them. Consider the example of a tree. A tree does not hold on to its leaves in the winter. It doesn't cling to the past. Instead, it lets go, knowing that new growth will come in its own time. The tree understands the natural rhythm of life. It knows that life is cyclical, and that each phase is temporary. It doesn't mourn the loss of its leaves, nor does it try to force them to stay. Instead, it trusts in the process, knowing that what is meant to be will be. We can take this lesson from the tree. Just as the tree doesn't fight the changing seasons, we too must learn to let go of the things that are beyond our control. It's not always easy. Letting go can feel like losing something precious. But in reality, we are not losing. We are making space for new experiences, new lessons, and new opportunities to grow. When we let go of attachment, we create room for gratitude. We start to appreciate what we have right now, instead of constantly longing for what we don't have. Instead of looking at what's missing, we begin to see the beauty in what's already here. We learn to appreciate the present moment, and in doing so, we find peace. Detachment also teaches us how to handle difficult emotions. When we are attached to a particular outcome, we become deeply affected by whether or not that outcome happens. If things don't go as planned, we feel disappointed, frustrated, or angry. But when we practice detachment, we can face setbacks without becoming overwhelmed by them. We understand that life is unpredictable and that we cannot control everything. This doesn't mean we stop caring or stop trying. It simply means that we accept that life will unfold as it will, and we will find peace regardless of the outcome. This mindset doesn't only apply to external circumstances, it also applies to our own thoughts and feelings. Often, we are attached to our own beliefs and opinions, thinking that they define who we are. But when we practice detachment, we begin to see our thoughts for what they are: temporary and ever-changing. Our true self is not defined by our thoughts or emotions, it is something deeper. By detaching from the constant stream of thoughts and feelings, we can experience a sense of inner stillness and peace. When we let go of attachment, we also free ourselves from the burden of judgment. We stop judging ourselves and others based on external measures of success or failure. We begin to see ourselves as we truly are, not as our accomplishments, our mistakes, or our possessions, but as human beings worthy of love and compassion. We learn to accept ourselves and others, just as we are, without the need to change or fix anything. This acceptance brings peace, because it allows us to let go of the constant striving for perfection and instead embrace life as it is. In Buddhism, the practice of detachment is often referred to as non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean we stop caring about people or things. It simply means we stop allowing them to define our happiness. We stop allowing them to dictate our emotional state. When we practice non-attachment, we are free to experience life fully, without being bound by our desires or fears. At first, detachment can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like we are giving up something important, or like we are being asked to let go of our very identity. But in reality, we are not giving up anything at all. We are simply releasing the false sense of security that comes from trying to control everything around us. We are learning to trust the natural flow of life, and in doing so, we discover a deeper sense of peace and contentment. Detachment, in the Buddhist sense, is not about detaching from life. It's about detaching from the need to control it. It's about learning to flow with life's natural rhythm, instead of struggling against it. It's about embracing the uncertainty of life, knowing that everything is temporary and that change is the only constant. And when we let go of our attachment to outcomes, we can find peace, no matter what life brings our way. So, the next time you find yourself gripping tightly to something or someone, remember the lesson of the tree. Let go. Trust in the process. Embrace the beauty of the present moment, and know that peace is not something to be attained. It is something that is always available to you, the moment you stop fighting and start accepting life as it is. The path of gratitude and contentment. The path to finding peace and surviving the bad phases of life is often not about trying to change everything around us, but about learning how to change ourselves, our mindset, our perspective. One of the most powerful tools in this journey is gratitude. It may seem simple, but gratitude holds immense power, a power that can shift your entire outlook on life and help you endure even the darkest of times. Imagine, for a moment, that you are sitting in the middle of a storm. The winds are howling, the rain is relentless, and everything feels like it's falling apart. It's hard to see anything good when you're in the midst of such chaos. But what if you could find something to be grateful for in that very moment? What if, despite the storm, you could see a silver lining, something small but significant that reminds you that life is still worth living? Maybe it's the warmth of a cup of tea in your hands, the support of a friend, or the simple beauty of the rain falling outside. This is what gratitude does. It allows you to see beyond the storm, to find something to hold on to even when everything feels uncertain. And it's not just about being thankful for the good moments in life, but also for the challenges. In Buddhism, there is a deep understanding that suffering and joy are interwoven. They are not separate. One cannot exist without the other. So, the pain we feel during tough times is not something to avoid or fight against. Instead, it is a part of our human experience, something that can teach us, grow us, and ultimately lead us to a deeper sense of peace. Gratitude is also a reminder that nothing is permanent. When life feels tough, it's easy to think that it will never get better, that the weight of the world will always be on your shoulders. But, as the Buddhist teachings tell us, all things are impermanent. The storm will pass. The bad phase will come to an end. And when it does, you will have changed. You will have learned something about yourself, about your resilience, about your ability to survive and thrive. Contentment is the natural companion to gratitude. It's about finding peace with what you have right now, in this very moment. Often, we get caught up in the idea that we need more success, more possessions, more validation from others, to be happy. But true happiness doesn't come from what we acquire. It comes from accepting what is, just as it is, without the constant need to chase after something else. Contentment is not about settling for less or giving up on your dreams. It's about finding joy in the present, in the simple moments of life, and in the knowledge that, in this very moment, everything you need is already within you. It's about letting go of the idea that happiness is something that is always just out of reach and instead realizing that it is something that can be found right where you are, in the life you're living right now. When we learn to appreciate what we have, instead of always focusing on what we lack, our hearts begin to open. We begin to see the beauty in everyday things, the way the sun rises each morning, the sound of birds singing, the kindness of a stranger. These small moments of beauty are not separate from our happiness. They are the very foundation of it. Gratitude and contentment teach us to be present, to see what is here instead of constantly wishing for something else. Buddhism teaches that the mind often clouds our perception of reality. We are conditioned to focus on the negative, to dwell on what isn't working, and to fixate on the things that cause us pain. But when we shift our focus to gratitude, we begin to see life through a different lens. The challenges we face no longer define us. They are simply part of our journey, and we can choose how to respond to them. In every difficult situation, there is an opportunity to practice gratitude. Maybe you are struggling with a difficult relationship. Instead of focusing on the ways that person has hurt you, try to find something to appreciate about them. Maybe it's their kindness in other areas of life, or the fact that they've taught you something important. When you shift your perspective, the burden of anger and resentment starts to lighten. Gratitude gives you the freedom to let go of negative emotions and free yourself from the weight they carry. It's the same with contentment. In moments of scarcity or lack, instead of feeling frustrated by what you don't have, focus on what you do have. If you are struggling financially, appreciate the roof over your head and the food on your table. If you are feeling lonely, appreciate the relationships you do have, even if they are few. The more you practice contentment, the less you will feel the need for external circumstances to change in order to be happy. You will realize that happiness is not found in the future, but in the present moment. One of the most profound Buddhist teachings is that of the middle way. It's about finding balance, not leaning too far to one extreme or the other. It's easy to swing between desire and dissatisfaction, but the middle way teaches us that true peace comes when we are content with enough. We don't need excess to feel complete. We don't need to constantly chase after what we don't have. Instead, we can learn to appreciate and find peace in what is. This is especially powerful when facing difficult times. Life doesn't always give us what we want, but it does give us what we need to grow. And when we approach life with gratitude and contentment, we begin to see these challenges as opportunities. Opportunities to learn patience, to practice acceptance, and to grow stronger in the face of adversity. Gratitude and contentment also foster a sense of connection. When we appreciate what we have, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. We realize that nothing is truly isolated, that we are all part of a larger whole. This awareness can help us feel less alone, even in our darkest moments. It reminds us that we are part of a greater flow, a greater journey, and that our struggles are not unique to us alone. We are all in this together, and we can support each other on this path. When we practice gratitude and contentment, we stop waiting for life to change in order to be happy. We begin to create our own happiness from within. We stop letting external circumstances define our inner peace. Instead, we realize that peace is something we can cultivate inside ourselves, no matter what is happening around us. This shift in perspective is powerful. It's life-changing, and it's the key to surviving bad phases in life. As you walk through your own challenges, remember that gratitude and contentment are not just words. They are practices. Practices that can help you find peace in the midst of chaos. They remind you that no matter what life throws your way, you have the power to change how you experience it. You have the power to find peace, right here, right now, by simply choosing to be grateful for what you have and content with where you are. It's not always easy, especially when life feels heavy. But as you continue on your journey, remember that every moment is an opportunity to practice. Every challenge is an opportunity to find something to be thankful for. And with each step, you will discover that the storm will eventually pass, and you will emerge from it stronger, wiser, and more at peace with yourself and the world around you. In the end, the path of gratitude and contentment isn't just about surviving life's hardships, it's about transforming them. It's about turning pain into wisdom and challenges into opportunities for growth. And when you look back on your journey, you'll see that, even in the darkest times, you are always being guided by the light of gratitude and contentment, finding purpose in pain and adversity. Life, as we know it, is not without its trials. Some days, it may feel like we're walking through a thick fog, not knowing where to turn, not understanding why things are happening the way they are. When the weight of the world presses down on us, it can be hard to see beyond our immediate suffering. But what if, just for a moment, we could shift our perspective? What if, instead of seeing pain and hardship as things to avoid, we could learn to embrace them? In Buddhism, there is a teaching that may seem paradoxical at first. Pain is not something we need to run away from. In fact, it is through facing our pain head-on that we find the greatest opportunities for growth. This may sound counterintuitive, especially when we live in a world that encourages us to avoid discomfort at all costs. But the truth is, our suffering contains the seeds of transformation, and the challenges we face can become the most valuable teachers in our lives. Think about it. Have you ever gone through something difficult, only to realize later on that it taught you something important? Maybe you learned resilience, or perhaps you discovered strength within yourself that you didn't even know existed. It's these very moments of hardship that shape our character and help us become the people we are meant to be. Now, I'm not saying that we should go looking for pain. Of course, it's natural to want peace, happiness, and comfort in life. But when adversity does come, because it will, we don't have to view it as the end of the road. Instead, we can choose to see it as an opportunity for something deeper. Buddhism teaches that suffering is a natural part of life. It's not something we can avoid forever, no matter how much we try. But instead of viewing it as an enemy, we can learn to treat it like a friend, one that teaches us valuable lessons along the way. One of the most powerful aspects of Buddhist philosophy is the understanding of impermanence. Everything changes, and nothing lasts forever, not the good times, and certainly not the bad. When we are in the midst of hardship, it's easy to feel as though the pain will last forever. But the truth is, it won't. Like all things, it will pass. And with that passing comes the opportunity to heal, to learn, and to grow. So how can we find purpose in pain? The answer lies in our response to it. It's not about avoiding suffering, but about how we approach it. Buddhism teaches us that suffering can be a path to awakening. When we face difficulties with mindfulness, when we approach them with an open heart and a clear mind, we can transform them into stepping stones toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Imagine, for a moment, that your life is a garden. When you plant seeds, you don't know exactly how they'll grow. You may water them, nurture them, and care for them, but some may sprout and others may not. Similarly, in life, the seeds of wisdom and strength are planted during moments of suffering. We may not see the results immediately, but if we continue to nurture them with patience and understanding, they will grow. Over time, we will begin to see the fruits of our labor, stronger, wiser, and more compassionate versions of ourselves. But how do we begin to nurture these seeds? How do we make sure that our suffering doesn't defeat us, but instead transforms us? The key is in our mindset. Instead of focusing solely on the pain, we can choose to shift our attention to what we can learn from it. What is this hardship teaching me? What can I do to grow through this experience? It's about changing our perspective from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate a mindset of equanimity. This means accepting whatever comes our way, whether it's good or bad, with calmness and balance. When we are able to accept the ups and downs of life without being thrown off course, we can begin to see the purpose in all things. Even in our darkest moments, there is a lesson to be learned. And that lesson may just be the key to unlocking a new level of peace and understanding in our lives. It's important to remember that finding purpose in pain doesn't mean we have to like it. It doesn't mean that we should pretend everything is fine when it's not. It's okay to feel upset, frustrated, or lost. But it does mean that we can choose how we respond. We can choose to learn from our suffering rather than letting it define us. We can choose to see our pain as an opportunity to grow, rather than something that holds us back. Buddhism also teaches us about compassion, both for others and for ourselves. When we go through a difficult time, it's easy to become hard on ourselves. We might think that we should be stronger or that we should have handled things differently. But instead of beating ourselves up, we can choose to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. After all, we are all human, and it's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay to struggle. What matters is how we respond to those struggles. Another important teaching is the concept of interconnectedness. Everything in the universe is connected. Our suffering is not isolated. It is a part of the greater whole. When we experience pain, we are reminded that others are going through similar struggles. This can help us develop a deeper sense of empathy and compassion for those around us. By recognizing our shared humanity, we can begin to find meaning in our pain, not only for ourselves but also for the benefit of others. As we continue to navigate through the tough times, it's important to remember that healing is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. But each day, as we take small steps toward acceptance and understanding, we are moving closer to finding purpose in our pain. The key is to keep going, even when it feels hard. Keep showing up for yourself, keep being kind to yourself, and keep looking for the lessons that lie hidden within your struggles. Ultimately, the purpose of our pain is not to break us, but to build us. Through suffering, we are given the opportunity to transform. We are given the chance to shed old patterns, beliefs, and attachments that no longer serve us. As we emerge from the darkness, we do so as stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. And in that transformation, we find the true purpose of our pain, to help us awaken to our full potential and to lead lives of greater wisdom and peace. Remember, no matter what you're going through right now, this too shall pass. And when it does, you will be stronger, wiser, and more connected to the world around you. The pain you're feeling today is not the end of your story, it's simply a chapter in your journey. Keep moving forward, knowing that every step, no matter how difficult, brings you closer to the person you are meant to become, transforming suffering into wisdom. As we come to the final part of our journey, let's pause and reflect on everything we've learned so far. It's been quite a path, hasn't it? We started by acknowledging the reality of suffering, and together we explored how to face life's toughest challenges with the wisdom of Buddhism. Now, we're at the most crucial point. How do we transform our suffering into something greater than ourselves? When we find ourselves in the middle of hardship, it's easy to feel like we're stuck in a never-ending storm. We might think that this suffering is all there is, that the pain we're experiencing will define us forever. But that's not true. This moment of struggle is just that, a moment. It will pass. It will transform. And if we allow it, we can transform with it. Buddhism teaches us that suffering isn't something we should try to avoid. In fact, it's a natural part of life. Everyone faces difficulty at some point. But what Buddhism also teaches us is that this suffering doesn't have to control us. We have the power to use it as a tool for growth, for wisdom, and for deeper understanding. You see, suffering can be the great teacher if we are willing to learn from it. The key is to change the way we see it. Instead of looking at our pain as an obstacle to happiness, we can start to see it as the very thing that opens our hearts and minds to the truths of life. When we embrace suffering instead of fighting it, we discover new depths of resilience and compassion within ourselves. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you been through a difficult experience, only to look back later and realize how much you grew from it? How many times has something you once feared, something you thought would break you, actually made you stronger? This is the wisdom that suffering can bring if we are willing to look at it from a new perspective. In every moment of pain, there's an opportunity for change. In every setback, there's a lesson waiting to be learned. And the more we open ourselves to these lessons, the more we become wise. True wisdom isn't just about knowledge, It's about understanding the nature of life, of change, and of our own hearts. Wisdom is the ability to see clearly, to act with kindness, and to remain steady in the face of any storm. As you continue on your journey, remember this: suffering does not define you. What defines you is how you respond to it. Will you let your struggles harden your heart, or will you use them to soften and open it? The choice is always yours. And here's something important to remember: you are never alone in your suffering. Every person you meet, every soul you encounter, is also carrying their own burdens. Everyone has faced their own dark days. This shared experience of hardship is what connects us all. When you face your struggles with wisdom and compassion, you not only transform yourself, but you also become a beacon of light for others. Your journey through suffering becomes a source of inspiration for those around you, and in turn, you contribute to the healing of the world. So, how do we transform suffering into wisdom? We do it by accepting it. We do it by learning from it. And we do it by choosing to act with kindness, not just toward others, but toward ourselves. Be gentle with yourself, especially when you're facing difficult times. Allow yourself to grieve, to be angry, to feel lost, but never let those emotions define you. They're just passing clouds in the sky of your life. The sky, your true nature, remains untouched. In Buddhism, there's a practice called mindfulness that can be incredibly helpful when you're in the midst of suffering. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being present with whatever is happening in the moment, without judgment. It means allowing yourself to feel your emotions fully, but without becoming overwhelmed by them. It means noticing your thoughts, but not getting caught up in them. Mindfulness teaches us that we don't need to react to everything. We don't need to control everything. Sometimes, the best way to deal with suffering is to simply sit with it, observe it, and allow it to pass in its own time. Another powerful teaching from Buddhism is the idea of impermanence. Everything, including our suffering, is temporary. This too shall pass. When you are in the midst of a difficult phase, it can feel like it will last forever. But remember, nothing in life is permanent. Just as the seasons change, so too will the challenges you face. And when you accept this, you begin to see that suffering is not something to resist, it's something to flow with. As we wrap up this video, I want to leave you with one final thought. The most important part of surviving and transforming the bad phases of your life is remembering that you have the strength to face them. You have the power to change your relationship with your pain. You have the ability to transform suffering into wisdom, into compassion, and into peace. But you must choose to see it that way. Now, as we close, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on your own life. Think about the times you suffered and ask yourself, what did I learn from this? How did I grow? And how can I use that wisdom to help others? Remember, each step you take on this journey is a step toward greater understanding, greater peace, and greater wisdom. And when you face life's challenges with an open heart, you'll find that there's no bad phase that can ever truly defeat you. Thank you for being a part of this journey. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Wisdom Woven, for more insightful content like this. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And as always, stay peaceful, stay mindful, and remember that you have everything you need to survive and thrive through any phase of your life. May you find the strength, wisdom, and peace you seek.